Jim is a recovering attorney, and he just loves guns. He's one of the top Smith & Wesson guys in the country. He wrote standard catalog of Smith & Wesson with Rick Nahas. He eventually became an NRA board member and then director of the National Firearms Museum. But he has a relentless obsession, and that is serial number 1 guns.
Everybody tells you when you're collecting, specialize, pick a field and specialize. I liked everything. I mean, all I wanted was one of each. And with serial number 1 guns, there's at least one of each model that's eligible for your collection.
I'm in several collectors groups with Jim, and it's always like, well, Jim collects Smith & Wessons and these other guns, but, you know, he doesn't stop at just any Schofield. He has to have serial number 1 Schofield.
I've got everything from Colts and Smith & Wessons and prestigious makers down to RG, which is maybe the worst revolver ever made, but I've got serial number 1 of it.
He doesn't care what they are. As long as they're serial number 1, he wants it. Does anybody else want serial number 1 Charter Arms Bulldog? Probably not, but that's why we have Jim.
My very first serial number 1 was Charter Undercover serial number 1. And it caught my attention because the first handgun I ever owned was a Charter Undercover.
Who collects, like, serial number 1 guns? Not that who would want to collect serial number 1 guns, because the answer is pretty much everybody wants a serial number 1 gun, but who is capable of tracking down serial number 1 guns across multiple manufacturers? I mean, that's number 1.
We're at the NRA National Sporting Arms Museum at Bass Pro Shop in Springfield, Missouri. And this place is a wonderful attraction by itself, even if the museum wasn't here. Since we built this museum a number of years ago through the vision of Johnny Morris and Bass Pro, it has become the most visited firearms museum in the country. The serial number 1 collection, I think there are maybe 20 or 30 of them displayed here, but we tried to pick some of the most interesting ones to display at this museum. So people will look at them. Some of them are just weird. I mean, there were a lot of the guns where, you know, they may have made serial number 1, 2, and 3 because it was such a terrible idea that it never went into production. So there are a few of those, but there's some really important major models that are there. It's kind of fun to see the very first one made.
To watch this entire episode on Outdoor Channel, contact your TV provider today.